Greetings, Clausewitz here. So as you already can see, in this time we will talk about the light cavalry of the ancient Macedonian army. First of all, I will go over the types of light cavalry they had, like where they had them from and like how they were called, equipped, and then in the next part I will talk about like the fighting styles, what they could actually do on a battlefield in general. And then in the last part I will talk about their duties, their deployment in an actual ancient Macedonian army and stuff like that. And a little bit of concluding everything or judging what I think about this a little bit. And let's start. First of all, be warned, I will say some old Greek words here. And I'm not an expert on Greek, I never learned it unfortunately. Maybe, I'm sure I will someday. But like I said, it's a little bit hard to really research how to pronounce it right, because of course, depending on the language you're talking in this case English, that the pronunciation actually drifts away, and I'm not also can't speak Greek and everything. I can't like rely on that, so it could be just sound German when I say it, and I'm sure Scarecrow Gamer will say something about this. And yeah, but you know, just that you be warned. So first of all, like the first type of light cavalry unit was the prodromoi. They were basically already established in the old Greek world before the Macedonians like took over, and Philip II changed a little bit their equipment or the role on the battlefield. They were like before the Macedonian army also like skirmishers basically, or very similar to peltasts. Had a helmet, had a shield, like a round shield, like a hoplon. Maybe not really a hoplon, maybe something similar. And I'm sure some of them used hoplon, some of them used just round shields and everything, or just even a peltast, you know what I mean, like what the peltast used, or just an oval shield, depending I would say on the culture and like what was available. But a shield, a short sword of course, like a kopis, and javelins. And you get the idea that, okay, they could like throw javelins and everything, but also had melee capacities, like the peltasts. And then also they would be re-equipped at some occasions, and later on permanently with a sarissa. Could be a sarissa, we are not sure if it's sarissa or just another long spear. Basically a sarissa is a long spear, and actually they were also called in the ancient Macedonian army sarissophori. So there's already the name sarissa in it, so it's a little bit strange if it's not really sarissa but something similar. But even if it's like 1 meter shorter, then it's not so much of a big deal. I let us just stick with the premise it was sarissa just to make things easy. And so you see, this was like the equipment, and they could also engage in shock cavalry tasks, of course, with the pike. And there were now some other types of like cavalry which are basically pretty similar to the prodromoi, but were not like re-equipped with a sarissa and were not Macedonians. I forgot this. Prodromoi were Macedonians. They were recruited of Macedonian population. So now we come to the Paeonian cavalry and the Thracian cavalry, which, like I said, were from Thracian tribes and from Paeonian tribes. I already mentioned these guys before in the peltasts. The peltasts also came from a Paeonian tribe, the Agrians, and from Thracian tribes. And they were basically the same equipped as the prodromoi. Shield, helm, sword, javelins, but not re-equipped with a sarissa. And pretty similar, just another kind of people. And then we have like Persian cavalry also, later on after the Battle of Gaugamela. But they were basically all the same, but just Persians. And doesn't matter now so much, because we talk more about like the typical ancient Macedonian army, not the later one. But just I will complete this also, I will talk about them also. Later on, before the invasion of India actually, Alexander recruited also some horse archers. And of course there were horsemen with bows, so basically pretty much simple. But just that you know, it's not so important also like I said about the core Macedonian army, but comes later on into consideration. So what they could do, how they would fight and everything. I already mentioned skirmishing, so they could like right to the enemy, throw javelins right off, of course. They are shooting the bows. And they also could chase enemies. This was like the favorite type of task for light cavalry in the more modern times, like Napoleonic warfare. Actually, this was the most task, like not the only one, but like the primary task for light cavalry to chase fleeing enemies. Same year they were there for fleeing enemies also, but not only. and could also support other cavalry. Of course, could engage in melee, but also skirmish, could be actually draw the enemy out, throwing damage at him. When he gets chased, then also retreat, that other troops maybe can overtake them. But like I said, Prodromi could also be equipped with a Sarissa, and then also fight like shock cavalry. Pretty cool. And this is like pretty much all. It's very similar to peltasts again. Like ranged combat, melee combat, but also could chase, but off the horse, because of the horse, and stuff like that. But also they would scout actually. Often I think in more scores of the past, like in former sources, not former, but in older sources, I think they were actually sometimes translated with scouts, which is then actually wrong. But this is what they would also do, because there was the most mobile form of guys, and actually you don't want to let the companions scout because they had a higher rank and everything. And I would say to get on a scouting mission is for cavalry like the same, like being on a guard duty, like for infantry. It's nothing I think very enjoyable. I think, could be wrong. And they were scouts. And actually the Persian cavalry later on would like overtake the whole scouting thing, and Prodromi would then be actually not scouts anymore. They would stick to their combat roles and everything. And yeah, but actually this was something all light cavalry would do. So now their deployment, they are actually duty in a battle with other Macedonian forces and so on. I mentioned like the phalanx. You had the phalanx in the center, shield bearers, companion cavalry, peltast, Thessalian cavalry, peltast, and then you would actually have light cavalry on there. So basically on the flanks. And they could, of course, come along with the skirmishers and skirmish, but they could also would secure against other cavalry. And this is like the main job of them, basically, to secure the army, the flanks, other troops against other cavalry or other skirmishers, because they also could just ride over skirmishers, of course. And but also they would be supporting directly other cavalry. For example, the Thracians actually would always, not always, but mostly, ride alongside the Thessalian cavalry and support them. Of course, because of the shield, of the sword and everything, I mean the Thessalians had also swords, not that they hadn't swords, but the shield is pretty much important here. And their javelins, they could actually fight very well against other cavalry, trying to stop the Thessalians, or weakening the spot in the infantry where the Thessalians want to strike and everything. Or helping the Thessalians when they are stuck in melee with somebody, with infantry or cavalry. And then they could actually ride somewhere else, because they were very mobile. The same is here for the Prodromi and for the Paeonians. When the Prodromi actually would fight with Sarissas as shock cavalry, then of course Thracians or Paeonians would support them in also like the Thessalians. They weren't so much there for supporting the companions. Of course they did it at some point. I mentioned like the peltasts would also be supporting. Of course, their infantry couldn't support them always, like the Thessalians with their peltasts. But this is something they could do, and they definitely had at some point. And but they would also surveying the battlefield because of the high mobility, like scouting, and they would also could secure different parts. It's also again like peltasts, different array of tasks. Ranged combat, close combat, securing areas, scouting, responding to different situations, to different scenarios, different points in the army. And I think that I really like this actually, the way. So this were basically their role. Later on, the Thessalians actually were sent home, not know really why, but there could be some issues with the officers or so. And the Prodromi would then replace them permanently as shock cavalry, because they were already very experienced in it, of course. And the Persian cavalry, the horse archers, and of course Paeonians and Thracians would then replace the missing Prodromi as the normal light cavalry, basically, as the skirmishers, as a supporting force and secure and flanks force and so on. And yeah, this is pretty much everything you can say about them. And I just have to repeat it. They were peltasts on horse, and they were also like special troops, like responding to different issues when occurring, to use them differently on different occasions. And the primary idea actually were that this types of cavalry would actually like support, of course, other cavalry and troops, like I said, but would also like counter enemy cavalry maneuvers to stop the companions, or opening a gap for the companions, and basically hold off attempts of the enemy to do against something to the companions. Because the whole idea was that the companion cavalry would deliver the decisive blow, and other guys would do other things, weaken the enemy, prepare him for this, and make sure the companions would come through. So basically this. But I really love this whole flexibility, this whole troops can do different things, you can rearrange them, and oh, you're facing something new, rearrange the army. And oh, the enemy maybe try to learn your tactics, but you can do something different. And the enemy is standing there, oh, how should I rearrange my army? Because the enemy could do 5 different things. I can't like counter everything, and you could actually change in the battle at once what you want to do. And you see, oh, I need more shock cavalry and here, you could send a Podomi back, get some Sarissas and charge them in. Awesome. I have to say it. Oh, on this flank, they're attacking very high force of cavalry, send some Podomi and some Paeonians over there, and everything is fine. And I really like this. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave me a like here and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in stuff like this. And next part will be about the heavy cavalry, so about companion cavalry like Alexander's and Philip's forces, personal forces, and the science, of course, also. And I think we come into an end. Could be the last video next about this Macedonian army stuff here, but I think I will then make like a last video, like a conclusion or a tactical video, I'm not sure, but it could be. But yeah, we coming to an end slowly, but steady. And yeah, so hopefully I see you soon.